Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day. To the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out the brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and is heard no more. Is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. This is a review show. It's episode 106!
Woo!
Woo!
That's cool.
That was new.
And Pedro just chimed in. By the way, I'm Austin.
I'm Sara.
I'm Lee.
And I'm Pedro.
We are the Immortals. Every week we review one of the 1,001 movies, albums, food, songs, and TV shows that you must consume before you die. This week we are reviewing the 307th entry of all those things as we hide out on a probably deserted planet from old gods who want to be mean to us. You know, the usual.
Normal stuff.
Yeah.
Guys, do anything fun on the planet this week?
I started a garden.
Did you?
I did.
Of food that'll keep us alive and healthy, or flowers?
No, food. I like food.
Okay,
food
cool.
is really important to me.
Cool.
I got pumpkins.
Did you
I got pomegranates.
Did you grow Tilister?
No, I didn't because cheese doesn't grow in the ground, and I failed.
Okay, that's why my cheese garden has not worked.
Yeah, bud, that's not a thing.
I apologize for...
Did you think that was a thing?
I mean,
We're
on a different planet.
We are way lower on resources than I meant to.
Oh boy.
I built 2 of your 8 spider legs.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As everyone knows, I lost my legs, episode 75 from...
So 2 of 8. So we'll be done, at episode, 110-ish? Sure.
That sounds about good.
Yeah, that works.
So it's good if things happen on the 10 intervals.
I have to connect them to the base of your spine.
Nope. Already
That's a
vetoing
lot.
this.
Well, I mean, how is he going to control?
He makes a good point.
Remote control?
You gotta remote
That's
control
cool.
your legs? That seems like it's gonna be really
Okay,
difficult.
I'm sorry.
Very clumsy.
Do you want to have probably, I'm not going to lie, inconsistent Bluetooth technology to operate legs, or do you want Pedro to operate your spine?
I mean, if it meant that I had cool robo legs.
You want Pedro to operate on your spine.
I'll let you guys
I trust
decide
him.
amongst
We're
yourselves.
immortal.
Pedro, have you ever done spine surgery before?
No.
See? Okay, there's a reason why this could
I
only
mean,
get
you
worse.
can't die.
That's
We're immortal. What's the worst that's gonna happen? You don't have legs already.
pain for eternity because Pedro fucked up my spine.
Eh.
Whatever. Speaking of excruciating pain from things being probed into your body, we are reviewing Throne of Blood this week.
Yeah.
Sure, alright,
that-
I'll go with that.
That is the movie, the 307th movie on the list. What are the other things? Like the album, Lee?
The album is Autobahn by Kraftwerk.
Huh. The food is Tilister.
The song is The Man Who Sold the World by David Bowie.
And the TV show is Brideshead Revisited, but let's just jump right into Throne of Blood. Throne of Blood is the 1957 Akira Kurosawa film. It stars his frequent collaborator, Toshiro Mifune, and this is one of his 3 William Shakespeare adaptations. This is the one that is adapted from Macbeth, but it is instead set during, in Scotland. It's in Japan, and it has samurais in it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's actually only 1 hour and 40 minutes,
Yeah, it's
as
really
opposed to a often 2.5 hour to 3 hour play. And it's
Perfect.
it's freaking awesome. And I'm glad, because we're now on episode 106, and we haven't covered Kurosawa yet. He is all over this list.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, we've done, I think, 2 Samuel Fullers now.
Yeah.
No, we haven't done. Sam Fuller?
I don't know.
I don't know, whatever. So it's awesome we're now able to cover one of, I think, the greatest filmmakers of all time. I know it's one of Pedro's favorite filmmakers. And I know Pedro and Lee hadn't seen this before. Is that correct? So I wanted to have you guys
Oh, wow.
jump in to see if this was a good, Lee, is this your first Kurosawa?
This is my second Kurosawa, but it's my first good one.
What'd you watch first? What's the first one?
The first one I saw was Hidden Fortress.
Yeah, that's not that great.
It's not that great. I watched it because I was working on a research project for Star Wars, because I'm a super nerd, and that's the only reason why I watched it. It was not that great. This movie was amazing.
Tell us a little bit about it.
It is pretty much a beat for beat remake of Macbeth, but in Edo period. And so there's samurais and the shogunate and everything like that, which is really cool because it's a different adaptation that we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing a whiny white man being whiny and want more power than he actually has. It's interesting to see it set in a different culture and to see how those power plays come into play. And it's also interesting to see how they take on the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
Let's begin with
It was
that.
super cool.
Because obviously in the play and most adaptations you have 3 witches. That is not the case here. Sarah, why don't you describe what he comes across?
You got creepy old spinning dude. Like, it's very, I mean, that's right? It's like creepy old spinning dude.
He's not spinning in place.
Sorry.
He's using a
spinning,
spinning
like
wheel.
or a loom. I guess he's
Like a fidget spinner.
Not quite a loop.
No,
It is a
it's
spinning wheel.
Is it a spinning wheel?
Lee has one.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
It's a type of spinning wheel. I believe it's a Shakti.
Which is interesting. I don't know if Japanese mythology has the same associations with
Like
spinning wheels and prophecy that Western myth does. Yeah, it's very that. And he's a creepy old dude with creepy old hair.
Mhm.
Later in the movie, he like pops up in weird places, and you're like, oh shit!
This motherfucker.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to go with some good news. Nope. More prophecies to damn my fate.
Right.
JK.
Well, he
Oh,
seems to be giving good news.
Yeah, but there,
Ish, sort of.
you got to read the room.
That's
I
true.
feel.
That's true.
Pedro, you've seen Toshiro Mifune in a number of things.
I have.
Seven Samurai.
This is the lead actor.
Rashomon. Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you think of his Macbeth? Because it is still, in my mind, like still as big as those 2 performers, but also it's actually not as big as those other 2 performers I just mentioned.
No. Well, okay, I'm not familiar with Macbeth, to be honest. I haven't seen or read any versions of the play, apart from this. So I can't really compare him to the character overall, but yeah, as far as his other performances, it was a little more subdued. Weirdly. Like,
which is because
Which is not to say the performance is a subdued performance
No.
on an average across actors normally.
Well, in Rashomon, you may think he's an actual feral animal.
Yeah.
And Seven Samurai, he is significantly younger than the other ones,
Mhm.
so he's much more brash and
Yeah.
stupid.
Sure.
And
just a little more childish.
yeah, more childish.
In
This one, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, I think he did a good job with it because he definitely seemed like someone who was forced to go with the flow to his shock and dismay, which is exactly what happens, right? There's a prophecy and it comes true through various reasons, means, what have you. But he, I think, did a really good job. Like, it was more on his face than like physical acting. Like, every time you saw him, he was either just confused or terrified or angry sometimes, but not that guttural anger, more of that, like, what the hell is going on? And he did a really good job with it, I think.
And in this story, in the story of Macbeth, basically they kind of come back from war. There's prophecy that these 2 guys are going to do very well, but also going to fuck up if this crazy outlandish thing happens. Like, the whole Woods movie.
Right.
Macbeth, whatever his Japanese name is here, thinks I'm fine and just kind of keeps going down the path towards his own demise and his power gains. But arguably, the most famous character, at least in pop culture, of Macbeth is Lady Macbeth. I think she is referenced more.
This performance is insane.
I love it so much.
This is my
so creepy.
favorite Lady Macbeth performance in anything I've seen.
That makes
Because
sense.
Mhm.
most time you see her as a very calculating, obviously she's influenced by, Robin Wright in House of Cards is very influenced by kind of Lady Macbeth archetype of like very Machiavellian plotting and kind of pushing her husband towards greater power so she had greater power herself. But this one I love so much because the performance is so good and so unnerving and like steals the room every time because she in my mind enhances the immorality of what they're doing more than Lady Macbeth. Because everyone's like, oh, this is just business kind of thing. Whereas she's like, oh yeah, we should like kill everybody.
Right.
Guys,
Like, I've been waiting in my life for a chance to kill everybody for a long time. This sounds fun.
Yeah. And she's so creepy, but she's also going to understand why Macbeth has followed her because of A,
totally.
fear, and B, like, she's making a good point.
Yeah.
Sort of, but she makes, out of all the possible arguments you could have in the situations that they were in, she immediately jumped to, like, worst case.
Sure.
Which,
Right.
I mean, that's fair if you want to, like, be all safe and, I don't know, what do you call it, erring on the side of caution. But, it just, she doesn't even give it a day of consideration or just to sort of see how things
bro.
roll out. She's like, no, we got to do this now. It's
Nah,
now or never. Bad things.
Lee, you said you liked her as well?
I loved her role. So, as we've talked about before, Sarah and I are both the type of people that we are reading Wikipedia the entire time that we're watching movies. And this movie is no exception. So, I learned about the background, and I had thought there was a connection. Lady Macbeth's actress is a phenomenal actress, as we have discussed already, but the acting style that both her and Mifune kind of exemplify is the no style of theater in Japanese. It's different than kabuki because kabuki is very outlandish and very, very theatrical, whereas no is very, very minimal. You have minimal movements and minimal scenery and staging and everything, which I thought was wonderfully done by what we actually saw. The rooms are the barest of bare.
Yeah.
And the acting is amazing.
And that is actually not always typical for Kurosawa. This one, use of like art direction, really kind of showed how this even isn't the greatest kingdom in the world kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's after a war. It's not like filled with riches kind of thing, but it's still people are going to lose their lives over this area. That would be a great like commentary because like even things like Seven Samurai, even though it's a poor village, there's just a million props in the house. Yeah. It's very lived in. To me, I'm repeating myself from the other podcast, Let's Take Five, because we did 5 movies on Kurosawa, but not this one. So, yay.
All right.
To me, Kurosawa is perhaps the best director of just framing a shot with people. Like, when you have Seven Samurai, you sometimes have 7 to 10 people in the shot, and then they're all moving, and then when they stop to, like, listen to something, you realize, oh, not one is blocking the face of another. Like, how did you do this? Yeah. And his greatest triumph of doing it so well is when he has battle scenes. And you get some great horse stuff kind of going on in this. You get some freaky editing in the forest with the supernatural dude. But it's Macbeth. Macbeth very much in the public domain.
Right.
We're talking about the ending of Macbeth. And that we're talking about the ending of Throne of Blood because, holy shit, the last 15 minutes is the greatest thing of all time.
So good.
I genuinely don't know how they film it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite part is, like, the horses legitimately even look concerned.
Yeah, like, something is happening here that is not good. This is bad.
Yeah. Like, even they have a look on their face of, oh shit, what's gonna happen?
Which was intentional, because it's Kurosawa. So what the hell was he doing on screen? Just
what did you do to those horses?
Just like,
Akira? What'd you do?
Probably just did multiple takes.
I guess.
Setting a horse back up to, square one is a little confusing for a horse, but also holy shit, because like at this point, you have Macduff bringing down Macbeth because he literally did move the forest by cutting down the trees for protection. It looks like the forest is moving.
So that I had seen only up to the part where Mifune sees the woods sort of coming at him, but I hadn't seen like the twist at the very end. So when I saw that again this time, I was like, wow, he's doing this really well. I'm positive he's got, like, ropes tied to pulleys, tied to these trees, like, slowly bringing them down and just using an optical illusion of making the trees come closer. Like, I totally thought that he would do that, because it's something he can do. And then the twist is, no, they're actually moving trees. But that was a lot of fun to see.
And not only moving trees, moving sticks formed into arrows.
Oh, he only uses real arrows in filming, by the way.
I think I did hear
those
that.
Those are real arrows, like, hitting the...
Because I don't know how else you would do that, because...
He doesn't do it backwards. Like, you can tell they're not, like, pulling the arrows out,
right.
like, and playing it forward. They're actually, like, shooting, and that's why I think you can see that a lot of them are really narrow shots, because I think that there are, like, archers or machines or something, like, right as close as they can possibly be to the actor to be able to get, like, this wall of arrows to come between us and the actor. And then some, strike him and their bodies, and...
And, most auditions Macbeth, you'll have, like, a sword fight, Macbeth dies, realizes he made terrible choices... Realizes, wait, did I actually make those choices? Whatever, till it died. This is, 2,000 arrows flying at him?
Yep.
It's so crazy.
And Mifune just gets open rein to scream and freak out as arrows are endlessly inches away from his head, hitting him, and just nonstop to wherever he goes. An entire army is throwing arrows at one person.
And when Mifune gets to be expressive like that, the level of expression that Toshiro Mifune is able to put on his face compared to what a normal person is able to put on his face is a vast difference. His face does weird things. Mm-hmm. It is partially, I think, his face is just physically larger than other people's faces.
Yeah.
Like, it covers more of his head. It's hard to explain, but the guy is an amazing actor in that he genuinely never has to say anything. You know what I mean? Like he's just, his face is so, it manages. We were watching a silent movie recently, and
for this podcast.
Yeah, it was
last week.
It was last week. And I watched another silent movie recently, and I was thinking about how you have to sort of over-exaggerate your features, or some silent film actors do this of over-exaggeration of reaction so that you know what the hell is going on without a title card. His is not that. It never feels like put on. It always feels like, no, this is how this character's face works. Mm-hmm. That's like a thing that is true about this Macbeth dude is, and so it never feels fake. It always, but it is fun to watch.
It feels like theater, but not as dramatized as theater. Kind of,
it
like
feels,
not on a stage.
Yeah, it feels, well, actually, you know what it feels like? And this is interesting because no theater, I know, has comparisons to this. It feels like opera. A lot of what opera actors do with their voices and face is this, because you don't have any ability in a lot of operas to convey emotion really any other way. He's fucking phenomenal. I love him.
And I was reminded, you saying that, Pedro and I watched another Mifune Kurosawa movie in theaters about a year or so ago of Yojimbo.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, this is the movie that's famous for, I forget where the lawsuits actually land, but an unofficial adaptation of a Dashiell Hammett noir story, which was then remade as Clint Eastwood's spaghetti western trilogy.
Sure.
But it is just the simple idea of like a samurai walks into a town super corrupt, he fixes it and leaves. But his performance there is super, super still. Very kind of like the quiet guy kind of walk into a bar. You underestimate him and then he'll slice up 10 people and then like sit back down and like finish his drink kind of thing. Yep. Pedro, how is it for you to see the different sides of Mifune?
It's wonderful. I've seen bits of pieces of Rashomon, which, like you said, he basically is a feral.
It's his first movie, I believe, and so he's going to learn what the limit is for screaming all of your lines. But it's also a movie where you are probably a rapist in every single story. Just a disgusting monster of a person.
Yep. But yeah, in Yojimbo, he's totally, like you say, he's like a James Bond, Clint Eastwood character. Well, he was. Like,
he was
doing that role, but how he can just be so cool when at the same time you've seen him be a very active child, a belligerent rapist, and a deranged or slowly losing his mind king.
And the last time they collaborated together was a great modern-day police thriller called High and Low.
I haven't seen that one yet.
And he's only really in the first third of the movie because he plays a businessman dad. He punches nobody. I don't think he even screams. But a kid is kidnapped, and then you watch a really kind of tight, awesome police procedural with like no shortcuts. You see exactly how every division of the police will solve a crime in real time, and it's weird to see him as a dad, you know. But this to me is it's the most fun to see.
Has he ever not had facial hair in any of his scenes? Because I think like that, kind of like what Sarah was talking about, like his face is just like painted just so perfectly.
Well, it looks like a no mask. I mean, that's the thing about his face is that like if you go to Kabuki or no theater, like those masks look like Toshiro Mifune, which is
gotcha.
They're supposed to they're supposed to be exaggerated. That's the point of the masks. But so that's just his face.
Kind of like the illustration on the cover of the film, then, right? Because that's Mifune. But
in the High and Low, he doesn't have a beard, just a mustache. I'm going to show.
Oh, weird.
Oh,
that's
wow,
super
that is
weird.
He's still got those eyes.
It's really good.
No, he kept the same eyes.
Giant crazy eyes is the name of the game.
Man, I mean, Lee, what else worked for you for this movie?
I think I really enjoyed, kind of already talked about it, the supernatural aspects, because I feel like in movies from this time period, they're all trying really hard to do something that's just outside their technological boundaries, so it kind of comes off cheesy and dated. But here, Kurosawa did those moments, those supernatural moments, in a way that worked, and it was just all with editing and camera placement and everything, and it was awesome.
Well, everything about whenever they ride through the forest is so disorienting.
Like,
he's never one that's that flashy about editing, but to really make it so it's impossible for the eye to follow where the path is on the forest. Because it's just going to keep cutting in an angle you don't expect, and it makes everyone feel lost. It's so good. I mean, and they're in the spider's web, you know?
Yeah. I also, the beginning and end of this movie is so striking every time. With it's just this zoom in on a wooden, it looks like a wooden memorial of this is where Castle Spiderweb used to stand. But it's done in this like intoned chant that with all this fog that is just, well, it's just really epic.
Yeah.
And it puts the whole thing in this context of failure. I mean, much the way that Shakespeare himself like bookends his plays with like, "Hey guys, this is what this is what this is going to be about." Mm-hmm. You get that in just that visual and chanted thing,
which is something
so
you can't get really in a theater. You can't have like an entire castle disappear into a wasteland.
Right. It feels very. It just sort of pulls you in immediately. Like, literally, it started... I've seen this movie before, but it started and I was like, oh, damn, right, this is Throne of Blood. Like, I'm here for this.
So, Sarah, Macbeth is your favorite Shakespeare play, right?
It is indeed.
How do you see this adaptation? I mean, it is at least an hour shorter than it could have been.
It's the best Macbeth adaptation. It nails down some of the... sort of the points of Macbeth in a way that it isn't Shakespeare. I mean, it's an adaptation. But
there's no Shakespearean language.
There's no Shakespearean language. Yeah. There's no, but there's also every Shakespeare play has a certain sort of rhythm, and you gotta have the porter, you gotta have your jester halfway through giving a funny monologue, and you gotta have all these you gotta have extra characters, you gotta have people commenting on this, and this is cut out the fat. We're doing just Macbeth. We're doing the heart of the play. We're doing Macbeth and Macduff and Lady Macbeth, and them ruining each other's lives.
And they cut out a couple things. Like, what's the other part of the prophecy at the end that's like impossible? Like
it's the born what comes to you, and what is it?
Yeah, you're born of a
you can't be slain by any man who was born of a woman. But no woman born. I don't know where the line goes. Basically, it turns out Macduff was born by C-section. So cool, right? I mean, right, but right. I mean, like but that's all about right. Like, it's not that Macbeth has been told something that is ironclad that makes him do all these terrible things. It's not that the witches didn't lie to him. His own hubris is his downfall. Is that he doesn't. He believes what he wants to believe, which is that he is the best and can never be beaten, and nothing will ever destroy him, and that's his downfall. I mean,
weirdly, there's just this buffoonery is leading. I always find this version of Macbeth to be less arrogant than other ones, because he is so skeptical about what's going down, and only Lady Macbeth is super confident about like, oh no, this is going to be fine. Because also I think she's thinking, if it goes wrong for you.
I think this one, it's very cool. There are some Macbeth performances or adaptations where Lady Macbeth's insanity is much more of a focus of the play, and that's I also like those. But it's so slimmed down, while still, but it doesn't sacrifice the grandeur of these huge battles. Because Macbeth is ultimately like about a war over who's the king of Scotland. It's a very big story in some ways that's around a small number of characters. And this feels exactly the same. Like, you feel like that same scale and that same, feeling of human death and battle that you almost can't get on the stage. Like, you never get that's why this is the best one. Because you can't, any adaptation that looks anything like what you have on stage is in some ways a disservice, not a disservice, but it's playing down the story, because what Macbeth is about is being attacked at the end by an army large enough holding branches of trees that you think a forest is attacking you. That's a lot of people.
And just to as we wrap up, looking at other Macbeth adaptations that I do think, I don't think there's any more on the list, so I'll just go through a couple. I really like Roman Polanski's Macbeth. It's filmed that he made right after Sharon Tate was murdered. And this is how he worked through his issues. It is the bleakest Macbeth I've ever seen, which is the craziest phrase you could say.
Right.
There's a really interesting adaptation called Scotland, PA.
As opposed to all this upbeat Macbeth.
Oh my god, so many comedies. There's a modern adaptation that was made about 10, 15 years ago called Scotland, PA, that's all set around a Midwestern fast food franchise, like going to be manager So it's all more about class and a much smaller, a man during McDonald's like place than a castle. Stars Marissa Turney, who I love. I have not seen the recent Michael Fassbender one, although I'm sure that's very pretty with him and Marion Cotillard. And the Orson Welles one, unfortunately, sucks.
Oh, what are you gonna do?
You can't win them all. But yeah. Oh, and also, this is the movie section. Slings and Arrows Season 2 is great.
Yeah, it is.
It's so much fun.
So if you ever need to watch a very short sitcom about the making of the Stratford Shakespeare Theatre Festival, it's good. Actually, Pedro, it's up your alley.
Yeah, you really like it.
Because the main guy gets to be just a delightful artistic weirdo who is haunted by a ghost a la Hamlet.
It's great.
It's good. But Throne of Blood, it's time for hinges. I give it a 4.5.
4.7. Love this movie.
I'm actually only going to give it a 4 because not knowing Macbeth, I mean, it's Kurosawa, so there's not a single wasted moment. But maybe there was just a little bit too much fat trimmed from the story. I feel like maybe they could have added 15, 20 minutes of just little in-between parts to bridge some of the larger jumps, like occupying different castles and whatnot. But
Makes sense.
4, at least.
And Lee?
I'm going to give it a 4.5.
All right, that is Throne of Blood by Akira Kurosawa. We're going to have many more Kurosawas on the list coming soon. But if you were intrigued by what we said, it's currently on Filmstruck and probably at your library. So check it out. Now it's time for something with a transition. Lee, what is the album?
We listened to Autobahn by Kraftwerk. This is Kraftwerk's fourth studio album. It came out in 1974. It's what Wikipedia has decided is krautrock. It's also what you could call
Krautrock?
Krautrock.
Fuck you, Wikipedia.
Okay.
It is an actual genre, though. Like,
when you click these links, is there ever a second album under any of these genres, or is it truly?
There's usually lots of people that I've never heard of also listed. But anyway, it's a very electronic album. It's not completely 100% electronic like some of the albums that we've already listened to from the late 80s and the 90s. They still had some more traditional music or instruments on it, like a couple violins, guitar here and there. But they were also playing a lot with synthesizers.
So last week when we said this was coming up next week, we had not heard the album yet.
No.
As evidenced by what we said, because since we've had a couple of German metal bands, we assumed it was that because German.
You assumed it was.
Because German words seem intense, so
Yeah.
I saw two German words. I'm like, oh boy, and then I heard it, and that's not what I got.
No, I love this album. It is exactly like you would imagine a 1970s electro-pop album from a German band would be. It is delightful. The first song is the title track on the album, and it's 22 minutes long, and it is supposed to be reminiscent of driving down the Autobahn.
Okay, so I've never driven on the Autobahn, but I've always, the cliche jokes you get in America are, there's no speed limit, it's kind of crazy and whatnot. But this seemed like it's all in tune. It's all, it all works, which is, I guess, not how I've heard the Autobahn from afar, because this is such a peaceful album to me.
I think that it's kind of a weird juxtaposition, maybe, or a weird comparison for us, because Americans, for the most part, think of the Autobahn like this speed limitless road that you can do whatever on. I think in Germany, it's just more of, it's a highway, it's our highway. And I think the song is trying to be a kind of a Sunday drive, if you will.
And, yeah, I knew nothing going into it as press play, and the thing I kept comparing it to was a really delightful video game, where you're playing a video game not for, story or, big boss fights. You're like, you know what, let's just relax and do a platformer for a little while. I feel like at an early level in Mario. It's very colorful, it's very nice, you're just moving along.
It was so delightful. I put this on and then I had it playing in the background while I was playing video games, and it was the best video game soundtrack I have ever listened to. It was absolutely perfect.
It's so delightful.
It's so good.
And so, I mean, you have the 22-minute track, then you have, 4 more, like, reasonable-sized tracks, like 3 minutes long or whatever?
Yeah, there are 4 other songs on the album. 2 of them are like part 1, part 2, Commenten Melody 1 and Commenten Melody 2, and then those are both kind of long at 6.5 minutes and almost 6 minutes, and then there are 2 other more reasonable length songs after that.
I really just kind of treat it as the whole album was 2 songs. You had Autobahn and the back half of songs. And
it works that way.
And I liked it. Like, to me, it was just a really pleasant experience. I was a big fan of this.
100%. This was a delightful surprise. I had heard of Kraftwerk before, and I've listened to some of their stuff, but I wasn't super familiar with it, and this was a delightful surprise. Absolutely enjoyed it.
Pedro, did you hear Autobahn?
Nope.
I think Pedro would like this.
I think Pedro would like it.
All right.
This will continue to check
put this more on the list.
I assume you'd heard the LCD soundtrack by now, Pedro.
Shit, I did not.
I love your distrust of these albums. You have to wait till the next week to review them.
There were a lot of just meh albums from the sound of it.
Oh, yeah, we've got a rough run, but so far, come back from break, it's been pretty good so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All good, all good.
How many hinges will you give this?
Oh, I will give this a 4.5. I'm definitely going to listen to more Kraftwerk. This was great.
I got to give it 4.4. That is Autobahn by, is it Kraftwerk?
Kraftwerk.
Kraftwerk. Got it. All right. Check that out. Now it's time for the food segment. We don't have any food, so now we're going to go to the song segment.
Woo!
But the food was, Tilister, and it's a cheese. But now it's the song segment.
It is. The song is The Man Who Sold the World by David Bowie.
Upon the stair, we spoke of was and when, although I wasn't there. He said I was his friend, which came as some surprise. I spoke into his eyes. I thought you died alone a long, long time ago.
The Man Who Sold the World. It's a song by David Bowie. Came out on his 3rd album, which had the same name, in 71. It's interesting. Wikipedia calls it psychedelic rock /
Fuck you, Wikipedia, so much.
Well, psychedelic, sure. It also says folk rock. I'm not sure how much I agree with that.
God damn it.
It tells a weird story that I don't really understand because lyrics aren't my thing.
I'm actually reading the lyrics right now because I heard it, but I haven't studied this yet because I like it.
But it has a very iconic intro with guitar, more so nowadays because of a cover by Nirvana, which sort of brought it back to
I've never
the
heard.
mainstream. I'm sure you have. I've heard it on the radio and stuff before. It sounds exactly the same in the intro, but a little more heavy, Nirvana-esque, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same song. And yeah, I mean, it's all right. I didn't really get.
Oh, come on.
It was okay. It wasn't
What's your relationship with David Bowie?
not a lot. I didn't listen to him growing up or anything like that. Actually, my biggest relationship with David Bowie is the podcast, in that we saw The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Yep.
And a couple of songs, I think we may have done.
Whole album.
Or an album.
Sure.
Which I don't know if I listened to. So, I haven't really had a lot of exposure to him. But, it's alright. Yeah.
Do you know him more as an actor?
I guess.
I'm sure you love him in The Prestige because he plays Tesla and you're a weirdo.
Oh, really? In The Prestige?
No, it's his best role. It's amazing.
He was Tesla. I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah.
I love Tesla.
Yeah.
And I love The Prestige.
He's quite good in Zoolander as well.
He's in Zoolander?
Well, yeah.
Oh,
He plays himself. He has
Okay.
to judge the the walk-off contest, or whatever it is.
Yeah, he was actually... So I think I've experienced more hours of Bowie as an actor than as a musician. I've definitely experienced more hours of Bowie on screen than on air, radio.
I don't know how I feel about that.
That is very strange, because I, as someone who, like, as we established, barely does music, but I know Bowie.
Meh.
Oh, God. So this song is, in your mind, typical of an artist you think is okay, or is this better or worse for you?
See, that's interesting. I think typical maybe a little better, because you can just kind of tell that it's not groundbreaking musically, but it has a staying power, which it obviously does, because it was covered a million times by famous people. And you can tell it's a well-made song by someone who knows their shit, and I'm sure there's deeper meaning. Have you gotten through the lyrics yet?
I have, yeah, I like it.
Cool. But to me, that's it. It's just a song by someone who's famous out there. There wasn't anything deeper. Like, I don't hate the song, but it didn't really...
It's a cool thing to it. You know, it's to try to sway you using, you know, words of a thing you like. You know, it's a world that has moved on kind of thing, right? And this is someone looking at someone who caused that, perhaps.
Himself.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. But that's it. I don't know. I just wish I wish it were more musically grasping than just storytelling wise.
Lee, what do you think of it?
I think it's a perfect example of David Bowie in this time period. It's very psychedelic, it's experimental, it's kind of going against the grain of everything else in pop music. So I liked this song. I probably have heard the Nirvana version, but I've blocked it out because I don't like Nirvana. So, but I really enjoyed this one. It was one that, like, I know I've heard before, but I never recognized it until I actually, like, sat down and listened to it.
I kind of missed this song in all my Bowie listening, and I liked it. I mean, I don't think it's as, like... I tend to like these ones that go even further in its psychedelic lyrics and whatnot. This felt almost like a short story as opposed to the crazier treks of Space Oddity or Life on Mars kind of thing. But, I don't know, this was good. It's David Bowie singing a song. That makes me happy.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Hedges?
Sure. How many?
Cool. 3.8. Not bad.
I give it 4, but I feel like I'm light years ahead of Pedro.
Yeah, 3.75 sounds good.
All right, that is The Man Who Sold the World by David Bowie. Now it's time for the TV show segment, and this week it is Brideshead Revisited.
What I'm asking is, are the events of the play driven by evil? Or is it that the characters themselves are just simply evil from the get-go?
Yes.
Which?
The Scotsman is evil. Both he and Banquo encounter the witches. Both their futures are foretold. But only the Scotsman goes on a killing spree.
The Scotsman? Oh, do you mean Macbeth?
Geoffrey, please.
What?
Don't say his name aloud.
Who? Macbeth?
You're just asking for trouble.
Well, we are rehearsing a play called Macbeth. It's going to be a little bit awkward if we can't say the title character's name.
This
Brideshead
isn't
Revisited
actually rehearsal.
is
This is a meeting after rehearsal.
considered to be one of the greatest miniseries of all time. It stars Jeremy Irons. It is adapted from the Evelyn... Oh, wow, I did not say her name aloud very often. Evelyn Wow? W-A-U-G-H. She's very famous. I just realized I've never said her name aloud.
Waff?
Waff?
I don't know.
I'm a sham of a man.
First off, Evelyn Waugh is a man.
You know what? Maybe I shouldn't be doing this segment. Even though I saw the whole miniseries, all, like, 13 hours of it.
It really enhances that homoeroticism, doesn't it?
Oh. This is a very, very gay miniseries. And it's great. I mean, we've talked about how great Jeremy Irons is only a few episodes ago in his portrayal of Scar in The Lion King. This is his best performance, bar none, because it is, like many great works of literature, it covers decades and decades of someone's life. And to see him... being watching it going like, that was in the 80s, but how is he so young? How old is he? Then by the end, he is like a veteran of war. I go, oh shit. It's one of those, like, Jeremy Irons is so good that, like, he can play young and naive, and now it looks like he has aged during the course of this miniseries. I mean, obviously makeup's involved, but it's his performance that really makes it last. And you see the I don't want to say too much because I think it's really, really good, but you see the drama in his life of his very important relationship with his male friend, his difficulties with his father, who is very, very rich and just does not understand him in the same way. Brilliantly played by John Gielgud, who I adore as the butler from Arthur, but also he's done like 1,000 more things, like all of Shakespeare. But you kind of watch as you see what things he decides to be ambitious about, whether it's like embracing the kind of high-class lifestyle, things he's avoiding, which is a lot of emotional connections with people, being very more upfront about that because he has, a marriage that becomes a mess, and when he gets out of war. And this sounds like every great novel, but there's something about this story that was so bizarrely compelling. Even like I turn on and go, oh my god, the first episode is 100 minutes long. And yet, fuck, it's so beautiful and powerful, and I'm ashamed I haven't watched it earlier. Lee, do you know the story? Have you seen this miniseries?
I don't. I only know about this because I absorb pop culture like it's air. So, and British popular culture is one of my favorites, and they talk about Brideshead Revisited quite often, and I just know that it is very, very homoerotic.
Yes. Yes, very, very much so. Very, very, very much so. And it's great. It's really, really great. I recommend it. It's hard to say what to say more because it's a 11-part miniseries, and I don't want... When you say spoilers for it, it sounds pretty like, oh yeah, that's what happens in dramas, but it's the presentation, it's the pacing, the incredible performances up and down. We got people like Laurence Olivier in this thing. It's great. We got John Gielgud. Man, I just feel like punching that guy. He just like just didn't. He couldn't read the room. He could never. It's good stuff. Brideshead Revisited. I'm glad I watched that. Pedro, what do you think?
Nothing.
Pedro, tell me.
Pedro,
don't fucking hide your secrets from me.
I don't have any secrets.
Okay. Brideshead Revisited. I don't know. 4.3. It's been a good episode for me. This is all sorts of good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yay!
Sarah had to step out to tend her garden. But yeah, this is episode 106.
We did it.
We did the things we did.
We did.
We did all the things we did.
Yes.
And that's good.
Impressive.
That's good for us.
I like tautologies.
You wanna get the next number, Pedro?
Sure.
We need to break that machine and be more inventive with the next numbers because this is taking away from the mystery of it all. We're immortals on an alien planet. We're using a
until
fucking
we have
app.
another intern possess one of us or something.
Yeah,
we can't really.
We can't go back to that though.
So, how about 310?
310.
Yeah.
Really close to 307.
Let's check what that is.
Oh shit! Yeah, we're only a few years.
Sarah's back from her garden.
Hi.
Sarah, how many hinges would you give David Bowie?
Oh, I really like the David Bowie song, like a lot, like 4.5.
You are by far the highest.
It's really great. What the hell is wrong with you guys?
Pedro, name 3 David Bowie songs. I'll let you include this one.
The Man Who Sold the World.
Uh-huh.
And a couple of others that are real famous, but I'm bad with names.
Okay. All right. So you said number 310?
Oh,
Yes.
cool.
Check that
Isn't
out.
that just 3 after what we just did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh my God. If we reviewed a great movie this week, we're reviewing arguably one of the greatest ever, The Seventh Seal. This will be our second Ingmar Bergman film, and this one will make you want to kill yourself less than Cries and Whispers.
because that first one was rough.
It was rough.
That was real rough.
This one, I swear to God, has at least 5 jokes in it.
Wow.
Ooh.
What?
I mean, there's still immense sadness,
Well, yeah.
but you got some actual comedians in it.
The food is tome de Savoie.
I like cheese.
I also like cheese. I hope I can find it.
Did you know those cheese, or just
Yeah.
a good guess of how this
Yeah.
podcast works?
Tome
It's
is
probably a cheese.
Fairly well-known cheese.
All right. What else we have here?
There's
The
a song.
album is...
You
I'm
first.
going to go first because
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this. The album is Queen 2 by Queen.
Nice.
Do I need to have heard Queen 1?
No.
No. It'll be
Okay.
fine.
I, by the way, only learned in the past few weeks that Brideshead Revisited isn't a sequel. Anywho, what else we have here?
The song is Maybe I'm Amazed by Paul McCartney.
A good song.
Oh, so good.
And then the TV show is the British sitcom Only Fools and Horses. A title I've gotten wrong many times.
Only horses and fools.
I've also got Only Fools and Lovers. I think Only
Sure.
Lovers and Horses.
That one's a problem.
Many.
That's just a point.
It's only noun and noun.
Is this TV show anywhere near as well known as the other 4 items on the list? Because it seems like we got some heavy hitters coming up.
I mean, I have heard of Only Fools and Horses, so...
It's definitely, like, it's a classic British sitcom. It's not as internationally classic as, like, Fawlty Towers is, like, as considered one of the great sitcoms, but... No, this one has, like... The Brits have seen this. Like, all Brits have thoughts on this, and have seen it.
Cool.
So, I'm very excited for that one, because I have not heard that song or album, actually.
No, there you
Nice.
go.
Me I like.
Neither.
I've seen the movie.
Okay.
It's very good. But yeah, until then, you could do a whole bunch of stuff, like follow us on Twitter at The Immortals Pod. Lee runs that, and usually begins the day with an existential question, you know, and dire recognition of our own
The
death.
world is on fire. It's hard to be positive.
It's true.
But it's yeah. But if you want to be positive to us in an email, you can email us at theimmortals@theartofmore.com.
You can email us if you want to be negative in an email too. We'll just be sadder.
Yeah. You can leave a comment at theartofmore.com about this show or any other show. Let us know your hinges. Let us know what you thought about these things. We'd love to hear more perspectives about what is considered the greatest, of all time. And while you're there, you can check out other podcasts. This week, Let's Take 5 is continuing with Jean-Pierre Melville. We may have been inaccurate in our past 2 podcasts of this about where we are in that schedule, but that's what happens when we're broadcasting over many light years, right? Is that sometimes things go wrong?
We're gonna go with that.
And sometimes I didn't know
Ignore
that
the physics.
we took a break for that, and now tomorrow is the 2nd episode of Leon Marin Priest.
Sure.
Not last week.
Sure.
You guys don't listen to the show, do you?
No.
Fuck.
I listen to the ones that I've heard.
Oh, God.
Or seen, which is, sorry, definitely not these.
Well, I don't listen to your podcast, Ad Absurdum, where the pop culture legal team discusses...
Yes, you do.
I know,
You
it's
listen every
really
time.
good. It's a really good show. You guys have one on Inception. You have a new episode soon.
Yes, we will, probably soon.
Big thanks to Adam Lord, who did the music for this episode. So, we'll be back next week. Thank you all for listening. My name is Austin.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Lee.
I'm Pedro.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.